Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Wednesday. No, it's Tuesday. Sorry, I'm going to ahead myself. It is Tuesday. I hope the week is going well wherever you are watching or listening to this around the world. A little bit different format today. As I said yesterday, got my decorator in downstairs at the moment, which is causing a few issues. I couldn't do my usual morning show, so I thought I'd come here on lunchtime and do a live show for you. Still do the usual stuff, round up the latest Arsenal news, but then also take a lot of your questions in a bit of a live Q&A. I've got about half an hour here before my wife comes back from her lunch break and has to come back up and sit in this room and do her work for the rest of the afternoon. So I've got about half an hour to talk about all things Arsenal. And if you want me to get involved in that, then you can all get involved. You see already lots of you already getting involved. Morning, Nick. How you doing? Hope all is well. Jimmy, happy decorating day. Thank you very much for that. Dean getting in touch to say hello as well. Lots of you getting in touch. So thank you very much for that. Right. What I am going to do is just quickly go over the sort of early Arsenal news as today, the normal sort of setup before getting into your questions. So I'm sure plenty of you are going to start asking things now. And if you do, that's fantastic. But I'm not going to start answering them until a little bit later on in the show. I'll go through some of them and collect it. The big news to sort of start with today, very interesting news, in fact, that I've learned is that Arsenal have now, or a group of Arsenal players have now flown to Marbella with Mikel Arteta, and they're doing an early pre-season, so like a pre-season, if you'll see what I mean, training camp in Marbella, which is first time I've ever really known of anything happening. So they've gone over there. They're going to be there for a while with Arteta, with the coaching staff. You've got Emile Smith Rowe's over there, Reece Nelson's over there, Eddie Nketiah's over there, Ben White, Jurriën Timber, Fabio Vieira. So those are the first six that have flown over with Mikel for that training camp, which has already started. It's a little bit different. So basically, it is kind of like a holiday, but with training in it. So then it's not under usual pre-season tour type strict guidelines. So they are allowed to do what they want. They've got their family over there in the evenings. They've got, any downtime. They've got no sort of restrictions. The clubs aren't telling them what to do or anything like that. But there is just a little sort of select time during the day, about a sort of 2-hour period where they are there purely for, proper high energy training to start getting ready for pre-season. But once that session is over for the day, then they're free to do what they want. So it's not quite pre-season, if you see what I mean. You don't have that strict sort of guidelines. It's just there for them to really start to work on their fitness ahead of pre-season. And for some of those players, it's going to be really important. You would say, kind of look at Jurriën Timber, for example, who missed all of last season, didn't get any of that sort of action. So he's come back and now he's going to have a good sort of proper fitness workout before the proper pre-season starts. Fabio Vieira falls into that category as well. You think the two of them, so injury ravaged season for the pair of them. You got the English boys over there who Eddie, Emile and Reece all could potentially move on this summer, but they're all over there. They're all working hard to try and get themselves ready. Now, as far as I'm aware, others are going to be joining up with this squad who aren't there at the moment. So Martin Odegaard, I believe, will be travelling and he will join up with the squad. Gabriel Jesus, I think, is going to do that as well. Thomas Partey. So the players who are there now are players who haven't been involved with any sort of international football over the summer, whether that be obviously the Euros, where it can't be because they're still there. But some of the other players like Odegaard had some international games for Norway. Thomas Partey had some international games for Ghana. But the players who had nothing whatsoever, they are now there at this camp. The players who have been involved in international games will start to filter into the squad, into this training camp over the next few days. And like I said, that includes Odegaard, Thomas Partey and Gabriel Jesus as well. And the aim of this, like I said, is to get everyone fit and ready for when they do go to pre-season, when it starts properly, when they head over to the US tour, that they are absolutely bang on it. Mikel knows the importance of starting this season well, and this is what this training camp is all about. Like I said, it's pretty interesting, I think. I've just not seen anything really like this from Arsenal before. You always have your summer, you have your pre-season date. The players come back first day at London Colney, do all the tests, and then kick into pre-season. So I've not really seen anything like this before. It's an interesting one, I have to say. And lots of you, I can already see in the questions, are sort of talking about it as well. So I'll get through some of what you guys have been saying. I'll just quickly flag up what Sea Lord. When I went on holiday to Marbella, I had a bit of a different time to the one I assume these players will. Pretty sure you're probably right there, Sea Lord. Although, having said that, as I said, the players are free to do whatever they want with their families, apart from the designated time during the day where they are going to be training. So it is kind of like a holiday with a bit of work in it as well for these players. Just quickly before I move on, got a lot to you. Colombo Ken, so I'm watching live from South Africa. Good to have you on board. Stephen, good morning from Chicago, CM Punk country. First time I've been up early enough to catch you live. Well, hopefully I'll do some more of these live shows during the as we sort of go on during the summer. Should have been doing more of them, to be honest. Just quickly here, morning, will you be attending the Emirates Cup, says Arsenal A5. What's the thought on doing a meet and greet? I'm not going to be attending the Emirates Cup, I am afraid, because... And let me just quickly bring up the fixtures because I do have them. If you haven't seen it already, it was announced yesterday. Arsenal will be playing Bayer Leverkusen in the Emirates Cup. And they'll be playing Olympique Lyonnais. So potential Granit Xhaka back for Leverkusen. Could well be Lacazette for Lyon, although I think the Olympics might get in the way of that. But I'm not going to be at the Emirates Cup, Arsenal A5, unfortunately, because I'm going to be in Portugal. That's my holiday. Family summer holiday. I get back the day before the season starts, which is good because it means I actually get to the first game of the season, unlike last season. I get back on the Friday and the first game's on the Saturday, but it means I miss the Emirates Cup, unfortunately. But yeah, those are the two fixtures. Been waiting a long time for these to be announced, so good that they are finally announced. Obviously got the two games scheduled over in LA, there in America for the US tour against United and Liverpool. There will be a third game that's going to be announced very soon, as far as I'm aware. So there will be a third game over there as well. So pre-season beginning to take shape for Arsenal. Right, I just wanted to talk about Declan Rice as well. Now, Declan, I honestly, and I've said this in my last few videos, I think the criticism that's come Declan Rice's way after the England-Denmark game has been so far, way over the top. I think it's been pretty laughable at times, really, especially it's been really reactive. I thought Gary Neville's comments were just, well, they were just Gary Neville, weren't they? But I kind of understood what he meant, but the way he said it, I thought was just way over the top. Basically saying that Declan Rice is not good at playing number 6, which is frankly just complete and utter rubbish because he is good at playing 6. That's why Arsenal spent £100 million to sign him as number 6. He played the first half of this season predominantly at number 6 for Arsenal, and he was by a country mile Arsenal's best player over that first half of the season, in my opinion. Yes, when he moved to 8, I thought he did that very, very well, and I think I get what Neville's saying, that I think when you've got a Jorginho or a Rice or a Partey playing behind Declan Rice, that works very, very well. But that doesn't mean Declan Rice isn't good at playing as number 6. And then for Neville to say that Mikel moved him out of there because he wasn't good at playing that and moved him further forward. Again, it's just utter rubbish from Neville. The reason Mikel moved Declan Rice further forward was, of course, because Kai Havertz, who had been playing at left 8, suddenly exploded into life playing as a central striker, which means Arsenal needed another player to play in that left 8 role. Declan Rice was a man they chose to do that because they obviously had Jorginho in the squad, so they could play Jorginho as 6. It wasn't because Rice wasn't good at playing at number 6 that he moved him further forward. I just thought it was such a rubbish, stupid comment from Gary Neville, and the criticism's all been way over the top. You've had everyone wading in. James McLean, obviously, the Republic of Ireland, or former Republic of Ireland player, has had his say and had a go at Rice, saying he's overrated and stuff like that. And then Rice has sort of hit back at it. I thought it was quite interesting. He said, it might be a bit of bitterness towards me not playing for Ireland, but I've not got a bad word to say about him. To be honest, I see the comments, but I don't try and put too much energy into it. It is what it is, and you move on. Do you know what? I played with James for Ireland for 3 games, and I got on with him really well. I'm not going to sit here and slag him off. I thought he was a really top guy. When I left Ireland to come to England, I heard a few things he was obviously not happy about. He made comments a few years ago. I'm not going to sit here and say anything about him. He's had a great career himself. I think he's coming to the end of his career now, and he's got over 100 caps. It would be easy for me to sit here, say something back to him, but like I said, we are at opposite ends of our careers. He's 35, I'm 25. I've known him, I played with him, he's entitled to his opinion, and I've had to fight a load of those opinions from other people before. Really classy, I thought, that response from Declan Rice, because it could have been, like he said, very easy to sit there and end up in a bit of a slanging match. And to be honest, what is the point? If you're Declan Rice, what is the point in getting involved in a slanging match with someone like James McLean? There's no point about it. No point to do something like that. And I thought his response was really, really classy. And, look, Declan was awful against Denmark. He was really poor. I think it was his worst performance for club or country since he moved to Arsenal. But the fact that was so obvious to see is because that sort of performance from Declan Rice is so rare that when he does play badly like that, it stands out and you really sort of pick up on it. But look, England have got a lot of problems at the moment. Declan Rice is not one of them, trust me. And, I thought he was excellent against Serbia the game before as well. And then suddenly one bad game and everyone's giving him pelters. So, yeah, I think he's responded really well to the criticism. And I really hope later on tonight when he's going to start once again for England, just the one change Gareth Southgate is making. So you're going to have Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka starting again for England. I wouldn't be surprised if Declan Rice bosses that midfield again, has a really, really good game. Fingers crossed he does exactly that. Okay, before moving on to your questions, loads of you get involved, so I want to get onto these really, really quickly now and rattle through some of them. Sorry, wrong slide there. Gabriel Martinelli played just for a few minutes last night for Brazil as they got their Copa America underway with a very underwhelming 0-0 draw against Costa Rica. Had 19 shots in that game. Brazil failed to score, though, and started with a 0-0. No appearance for Gabriel Magalhães. He didn't play, but Martinelli came on as a second-half substitute late on, but couldn't find a way through to give Brazil their win. Right, let's move on now, shall we? Got lots and lots of questions from you as well. Just some more people here saying hello to get you all included. Wilson there getting about Testfu. Another one here. Lots of people. Love your honesty and humility, bro. Thank you very much for that. Lots of people. Look at this. Marley from Uganda getting in touch as well. We've got viewers from Ghana. Love to see where all you guys are watching from. Neil, before we get involved, saying, are you watching the T20 World Cup? I was just sat downstairs before doing this, watching the rerun of India's win against Australia. Sorry if any of you are watching for us from Australia, but I did laugh at you guys going out ahead of before England, given some of the comments after the group stage game. Lovely England versus Australia rivalry coming to the fore once again. Got Big Fred saying, number one Arsenal YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Best of wishes from King's Cross as well. DJ Ash B says, afternoon, Charles, 50 million asking price for Eddie. Not heard that myself. Don't think that's very realistic, I have to say, but I do think, and I've spoken about this before on previous channels, that Arsenal should be looking for decent money for Eddie Nketiah. Good striker, Premier League proven, England, homegrown, scores goals in the Premier League. Absolutely should be asking for good money. I don't think you should be getting anything less than 30, 35 million for Eddie Nketiah. If you ask me, 50 million though, I think that might be a little bit of a stretch. Han Solo says, hey Charles, hope all is well. Do you know much about Guirassy? Big season recently, scoring plenty of goals. Has he done this often? He's had a very good season. I think he's going to go to Dortmund, though. All the talk. I've seen a few whispers in the last 24 hours or so that I can't substantiate myself that Arsenal are sort of sniffing around and might get involved. But certainly, by all accounts, it looks like Dortmund is the place he will be heading if he does indeed go this season. PT gets in touch saying it's a pre-season. I see that's exactly what it is, a pre-season. It's really interesting, honestly. Like I said, I've never seen Arsenal do anything like this before. It's like a pre-season. It's the only way you can describe it. But as far as I'm aware, they just want to be really sure that the players involved are ready. They want to go and have a really good tour of the United States, put on a show for everyone for the United games and the Liverpool games. Packed out stadiums, no doubt, over there, and they want everyone to be ready and raring to go. And I think also when you look at the start of Arsenal season, and we spoke about it with the fixtures and the away fixtures, anything else you can do to make sure you are ready to hit the ground running at the start of the season could only be a good thing in my mind. And certainly for those players, especially the likes of Vieira and even Smith Rowe, and well, to be fair, even like Eddie, barely played any minutes in the second half of the season. Those sort of players, it's not like they're going to be struggling with burnout or anything like that after the end of last season. So I'm sure they're really looking forward to getting out and playing and trying to impress over there in more of a sort of small knit squad rather than everyone being involved at the end. David says we really need to get our transfers out of the way pretty early. We do, 100%. I agree with that comment, but it's easier said than done, especially in a summer when the tournaments are ongoing, two of them at the same time. It's not the easiest to get these transfers done early, but look, Mikel wants it. He's spoken about that in the past before. The club have been very good at getting transfers done early in previous season. Hopefully they can do that again this summer. Obviously the start hasn't exactly been, rapid by the looks of it. The Sesko thing was obviously ongoing. That didn't work out. And so they've had to take a little bit of time and look elsewhere, but I'm sure they'll get some business done and they will get it done, pretty quickly. P Sharp is on here saying, love this CW. Thank you very much for that. Let's see what else we got. Here's one from Patrick, an interesting one. Come on the Arsenal. Now, with that being said, do you think we should go in for Romelu Lukaku? No, I don't. Look, Lukaku's fantastic striker. You just look at his record in the Premier League, though. Certainly in the last couple of times for United and then going back to Chelsea, it just hasn't really worked out for whatever reason. I don't know why, because he's such a physically imposing striker. He's so, he's good in front of goal. He scores plenty of goals. He has done his whole career. But look, I think Lukaku's coming to the end of his career now. He's having a very good time of things in Italy. If he does get a move back there, which I'm sure he will eventually this summer, whenever Chelsea sort of sort that one out. It's mad to think he's still actually a Chelsea player, Lukaku. But for me, no, not for Arsenal. Let's have a look. Guna Colt says, Charles, love your work. Thank you very much. We seem to be randomly linked constantly, but then these stories end up wrong. Seems Arsenal are doing an excellent job in keeping their business quiet. I'm not sure it's wrong, to be honest. I mean, if you talk about this summer, the main transfer story, obviously, so far involving Arsenal was Benjamin Sesko. And that wasn't wrong. That was right. That was absolutely correct. It was just that he decided at the end of it to stay at Leipzig. So the stories and the reporting of it wasn't wrong. It was all spot on. It's just ultimately his decision in the end was to stay. But yeah, look, Arsenal do a good job in keeping their business quiet. It's something I've spoken about on my shows with Team News and Ticks in the last few weeks. It is a club that like to operate under the radar a little bit. Some clubs are quite happy for stuff to get out and to be sort of widespread in the media. Arsenal don't really like to operate. And Mikel Arteta runs a pretty close ship. He's never liked the idea of things leaking out too much. And that's how Arsenal do their business. And they've done it very successfully in the past. Ben White, you're a good guy, Charles. I hope you don't vote Tory. I don't vote Tory. No, I don't. And I certainly won't be voting Tory in a couple of weeks' time. Yash says, what position do you feel Eze can play most effectively for Arsenal? I mean, when you look at the makeup of the squad, I think the position that is there for the taking is left 8. If you're in a sort of attacking midfield type player, obviously, depending on what Arsenal do in the market and depending on what their final decision is going to be on Declan Rice and where he plays. But you think if they do sign Eze, I think he can play in a multitude of positions. He's a very quality player. He can play across the front line. He's a very talented player. But I think you kind of look at him as earmarked for that role alongside Martin Odegaard. Maybe not every single game. I'm sure Mikel would change things and rotate things and use different players against different sort of opposition. But that is a position that screams out for me when I look at Eze. And if he were to come to Arsenal this summer, I think that's a role, that's a position that is there for the taking. And I think he's good enough to make that position his own and be very, very successful at it as well. Here's one from Ghana saying, watching you from Accra, Ghana. Thank you very much. When does pre-season start? Officially, it's about 3 weeks away now from the start of everyone coming back. Well, not everyone, because it's one of those pre-seasons which is just complete a mess, really, because of the international tournament. So you've got, obviously, this pre-season, which is starting now, right now. They're all in Marbella. Then they'll come back from that. They'll have another little bit of time off. And then they're due to start, I think, in about 3 weeks at London Colney, where they'll have another week. They'll go through all their testing, and then they obviously fly out to the US for the US tour. But players are going to filter back at different times, depending on how much they've played internationally. If they're at the Euros, how far they go in the Euros, and when they go out, they'll want the club will normally give them at least a 2-week period of just complete downtime after they exit from the European competition. So obviously, if Saka and Rice, wishful thinking maybe, get all the way to the final, then they wouldn't come back till very, very late and potentially right towards the end of the pre-season tour. But should they go out in the first knockout game, then they'll be back a lot earlier than that. So it all depends. But in terms of when it actually starts, the sort of official date is in about 3 weeks' time. And that's when all the non-internationals will be heading back to London Colney. Barry saying hi from Antigua. Hello, Barry. What a beautiful part of the world. Caleb there watching from Liberia as well. Let's have a look. What else are we saying? Dean here says, Charles, I've seen some reports linking us with the exciting PSV winger Bakayoko. They say we are leading the race. Have you heard anything regarding this? No, I can't say I have, unfortunately, Dean. I like Bakayoko. I thought he was really, really impressive when we saw him against Arsenal. Whether he's the finished package right yet and ready to make that move, I don't know. But, he's got the talents to be a real quality player. He's obviously, I think he's with Belgium at the moment at the Euros as well. So if anything were to happen with Bakayoko, that will be after the tournament. But I haven't heard anything of any sort of substance linking Arsenal with Bukayo as well. CSS Cleanings and watching live from Portugal. Great to catch you live, Charles. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. I'm going to be heading over your way in just not a couple of weeks, but in a few weeks' time. Can't wait for to get over there for some sunshine and some golf. over there in your beautiful, beautiful part of the world. Ed, live from Dallas. Thanks for all the news, Charles. No worries at all. My brother lives in Dallas. Hopefully going to be heading over there for the World Cup in a couple of years' time and staying with him. Shane asking if I can get the decorator to fix that cable. As I said, I'm not sure I'm going to do that, unfortunately, because I don't want to put anything on the wall. The whole reason decorator's downstairs is he's touching the house up so we can sell it. And I don't want to add any sort of whatever you call them to the wall that end up sort of damaging the paintwork and everything like that, because the whole idea is down there is to touch it up to make it more appealing for people to sell. Just on Smith Rowe, actually, I haven't spoken about Smith Rowe properly yet, despite the talking about him going over for the pre-season. But my understanding is no firm decision yet has been taken on Emile Smith Rowe when it comes to his future. Obviously, there's discussions going on right now in terms of what the options are. My understanding of the situation is still the most likely scenario is that he will be going this summer. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing more in the next week or so regarding clubs who are in for Smith Rowe. There's interest in him from Premier League, Fulham, a club who have understood to be one of the clubs very much in for Smith Rowe. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if things develop there at some point in the near future. But there's also lots of interest from him in both Italy and Germany, as far as I am aware. His preference, though, is to stay in the Premier League. It's the league where he wants to play, where he thinks, it's the place to be when it comes to being a footballer. So his preference is absolutely to stay in the Premier League right now, despite interest from other countries. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see things move forward in the next couple of weeks or so. But he's out there in Marbella with Mikel Arteta, with the coaching staff. If he can really impress while he's over there, who knows? He could resurrect his Arsenal career. But I still, as it stands right now, my expectation is still that Emile will probably be headed off. See some more of you getting in touch. Corey saying, good afternoon, Charles, watching from work while working from home, currently on a break. Hope decorating went well. I had some moving and decorating last week and it was a mission. Yeah, it is a bit of a mission. We've got Flint from Nigeria as well. Dapo getting in touch. NSW Xia, I think is the pronunciation. Probably ready. See, I don't agree with this, Pablo. In fact, I just think it's rubbish. Is Declan Rice Tony Kroos? No. Is he Thomas Partey? No. But he can progress the ball. He absolutely can progress the ball. He's not as good as those players at doing it. It's not his game. He's more of a disruptor. We know that. But that doesn't mean he can't play as a number 6. Don't get me wrong. I think, the more I see Rice playing as an 8, the more I think that's probably the role that he can play well for Arsenal. If that is the case, and if you can get a top quality 6 to come in and play that role long term at Arsenal, then that might be Rice moving to 8 for the long term. But the notion that he can't progress the ball is just absolutely not true. Is it the biggest strength of his game? No. Can he do it? Yes, he absolutely can. And he can play well at number 6. He's played well at number 6. He played very well for Arsenal there as well. It's one from Chrissy Boy says, hi, Charles, love the videos that you do. As far as you're aware, what are the chances of Jesus and Zinchenko leaving? Also, do you know anything of Arsenal's plans this window? Well, Jesus, look, I think both of those players, if a really big bid came in for him this summer, they would fall into that category of players who the club they don't want to push him out the door. And I think in Jesus's case, I think it would be a mistake if they were to do it. But I think there's a few untouchables in this Arsenal squad, and those two players aren't on that list. So if a really tempting offer came in that the club just felt was too good to turn down, I think they would probably take it. But for now, both of them are very much part of Arsenal's plans. And the fact that Jesus is coming back next week and going to be linking up in Marbella with the squad, I think is a real positive. He's obviously not had to have any sort of operation this summer, which Arsenal were very hopeful that was going to be the case. And you would really hope this summer, his first, a proper break for him. And if he can come back in pre-season and get himself really, really going, I think Jesus has got such a big part to play next season. I really, really do. So no, I'd be very surprised if those two go, but you can't rule it out, especially if a big bid comes in. Jabu says, I don't get what Neville says. In England, you guys focus on what your player are not what your players are. Always a big mistake. C-Lord says, typical Gary Neville. He only follows Arsenal at a high level and doesn't know the details like Arsenal fans do. Lots of you from Ghana getting involved in today's show. And from Sierra Leone, Philip, good to be here. Good to see you as well. What's this one says? Paul Jr. Mikel could have hired our Villa for pre-season in Marbella at a golf estate. Oh, Paul, I'll get on that. I'll get on that if Mikel's not doing it at all. David says, "Hi Charles, I love this medium of delivery better. Would really appreciate if you do it more often during the season. Great work as always. I will do it more often. I absolutely will. And I tell you what, when I leave this house, finally, the big thing that has stopped me doing more and more of these sort of things is this house and the fact that it's just not suitable for what I do at all. I'm either chucked downstairs in what is supposed to be a dining room, but it's actually a toy room. And if you could see everything around me, it's just an absolute mess with kids' toys everywhere. And then when my wife's not working upstairs because she works from home, I can come up here and do it. But it's just moving stuff around. Nothing's fixed. I'm doing it all off a laptop. When I move house, which hopefully is going to be fairly soon, one of the big things about it is that I'm going to have a proper room designated for this and for what I do, whether that be a new sort of studio built or outside in a sort of outhouse type thing or in a room. And it's going to give me scope to do so much more of this sort of thing where I'm not going to get disturbed. I'm not got kids flying around all next to me. So David, it's coming. Trust me, just wait a little bit longer. I'm going to be doing a hell of a lot more of these sort of things. It's all in the pipe work. Let's see what else. Carl says Rice went from being signing of the season and one of the top players in the league and now faces criticism. On the other hand, Potty Foden is getting all the sympathy and is supposed to replace Jude. Well, look, I think Foden should replace Jude, but not in the team. I think Jude should just drop back next to Declan Rice. It just seems so obvious to me that that's what you do to try and give this England team a little more balance. You move Foden into central, you play Rice a little bit deeper. Bellingham a bit deeper with Rice. You bring in Anthony Gordon or someone else on the left to give more balance out there. And it just seems to me to solve all the problems. But who am I to question Gareth Southgate? Ray here says to me, Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle is the player to be bought. Interesting. I think today is the last day of that release clause, £100 million release clause for Bruno. Not that anyone was ever going to activate that. Arsenal do like Bruno. They are interested in Bruno, but there was never, in my mind anyway, I was never expecting them to trigger that release clause. If anything was ever going to happen with Bruno, it was going to have to be done more through direct negotiations with Newcastle to try and come up with a better sort of deal. So, yeah, it is the last day, but I wasn't expecting that to happen. Fortis says Martinelli seems lost, not the same confident kid we used to see. So I don't really agree with that either. Look, he didn't have a good season. He didn't have a good season in front of goal. He was still doing a lot of the good things that he always does. But he just didn't have a good season in front of goal. And I think he lost confidence. You could see that. He was missing chances that he doesn't usually miss. But I would fully expect Gabriel Martinelli to get back to much, much better form and much closer sort of form we saw the previous season. He comes back, have a good pre-season, have a good summer, come back and be ready to go. Martinelli's a top quality player. He's got all of the attributes. I've spoken about this with the whole Nico Williams links. I love Nico Williams. I wouldn't say no to him being at Arsenal. But when you look at Nico Williams, a lot of the things that you would use as a negative against him, you use as the same things as Martinelli. Absolute danger, threat, but when he gets into the final third, maybe doesn't get his head up enough, maybe doesn't take advantage of the position he's in enough. And you can say the same thing about Martinelli. And so do you really need to spend that sort of money on Nico Williams when you've got Martinelli there? Just focus on the players you have sometimes. And I think Martinelli is one of those. So look, I'm very, very confident that we're going to see Martinelli back towards his best next season. Curtis here says, you mentioned Gabby Jesus in the training camp. Does that mean he didn't have a knee procedure done or that he did it? He's already recovering. I haven't heard that he's done it. No. And, that's not filtered out at all. So I'm just guessing, I'm presuming that he didn't need to have an operation done at the end, which was always the plan. That's always what Arsenal were hoping for. I think we were all fearful it might have to be the case, given the way they were managing it over the second half of the season. But I've certainly not heard that he has had this procedure done and it hasn't filtered out anywhere else either. And the fact that he's now going to be joining up with the training camp this early on in the summer certainly suggests to me that it hasn't been done. Aaron here is getting in touch and they're asking about the stuff to Marino, Guirassy and Bakayoko. Obviously, I've spoken about the previous two, the latter two there. Marino, I've seen the links in Spain. It's not one that I've heard myself. I have to admit, and this doesn't mean it's not true. It could absolutely be true. But when I've seen, this is the one when I read these sort of reports and speculation from another country, I just see red flags there where I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not sure I'm buying that. And that's my immediate thought with Marino. I haven't had it confirmed that what's going on, what the reports are saying, anything there's anything in them, I'll keep digging. And if I do find out, then I will, of course, let you guys know. But my initial reaction to those reports were like, yeah, I'm not totally buying that. But you never know. It might be right. It might be right. And I might be being a bit too skeptical. But yeah, it's not one that I've heard of yet. Or my initial thoughts were there's going to be something in that. Let's have a look. What else we got? I'm going to have to call this short. I'm going to have to cut this off pretty soon. We've got couple more minutes to go. What's this one from Phil? Hi, Charles. Can you shed any more light on the situation with Gabriel last season? Was there a bid from Saudi, and was it as big as reported? I don't think there was a bid. I don't think there was an official bid. I think Arsenal were expecting a bid. Gabriel was expecting a bid. There was definitely stuff going on behind the scenes. There was big money being offered to Gabriel in terms of what was on the table should he move there. But Arsenal were making it pretty clear that they weren't willing really to negotiate. So that bid never arrived. So there was lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. I think Gabriel's head had definitely been turned, which is understandable given the money that would have been offered to him. But I don't think a bid ever arrived. As my understanding of it, there was, a bid wasn't rejected or anything like that. But while it was all going on, obviously he came out the team, wasn't in the starting lineup. His head had been turned a bit about it all. As soon as the window shut, obviously he was back in the team and he stayed in the team. And hopefully nothing similar happens this summer. Let's have a look. So I'm just looking at some of these comments. I think it's just really, really harsh. Champa saying, I would take a bag of peanuts, Freddie. I just don't get that. I don't get that. He's a good player who scored goals in the Premier League. Why would you do, loads of people criticize me for underselling Arsenal players. And then you got an English striker, young, who scored goals in the Premier League before. Why on earth would you not want to get proper decent money for him? It absolutely makes loads of sense. Osman from Sierra Leone, long-time listener, first-time texter. A few more of you guys getting in touch as well. Let's have a look. Just bringing some more of you up there. Perez, Charles, come to Los Angeles for the game versus Man United. I'm sorry, Perez. I wish I could. I would love to go over there for the tour, but I just can't afford it this summer. So no, I won't be doing that this summer. I do hope to come over to do a US tour at some point, but it won't be happening this summer. Naren says, hi, Charles. Is Arsenal going for big signings this window like they did with Declan Rice, or are they just going for good market opportunities like with Sesko before the new contract? I think it's more of the latter, to be honest. That's certainly the message that I've got, and I've spoken about that in previous videos before. I'm not expecting a Declan Rice type signing from all the word that I have been receiving anyway. That doesn't mean it can't happen. Obviously, a market opportunity can arrive, and suddenly the club think we've got to do this, and they do, and they will do it. But I don't think that's the sort of market that they're operating in terms of price tag this summer, but I do think they're going to invest heavily. They'll spend some big money and they will improve the squad. That's all I can say on that. Elizabeth from Washington, D.C. Who should we expect to attend pre-season games? Well, it'll be a strong squad who'll be heading over your way. Obviously, some of the players, as I said at the start of the video, who've gone later on in the international tournaments won't be involved. As I said, if Saka and Rice get to the final, I think it's probably very, very unlikely. Although Mikel likes to get players over, and they will fly over to join up with the tour if it's possible. But it all depends on when the players leave. But it's going to be a strong squad, no doubt about it. The likes of the players who are at Marbella, for example, they're all definitely going to be heading over there, and the players who've gone out of the European competitions early, like Jakob Kivior, obviously he's already out, those sort of players. So it would just be the players who go really, really far in the international tournaments who might miss out on some of these games. Let's quickly just bring up a few more people. So you've got your mention. Hi, Charles. Hope you're having a great afternoon today. FC match. Tony said, any news on Cozy Dewberry? Well, there's not really any more news to report on that. I don't know where he's going to end up. He hasn't made a decision on that yet, but he's not going to be at Arsenal. Arsenal offered him a contract. He turned it down and he decided to make the move. Very similar to the Raul Walters one. Arsenal disappointed. They wanted to keep him. They felt that he could have good development at the club over the last couple of years. They felt they offered a good contract for him to stay, and they mapped out a good sort of development path for him over the next couple of years. But ultimately, he looked at it and decided to move elsewhere. And good luck to him. Hopefully, it pays off for him. Oh, look at this. One from Melbourne. Libat's there. Thank you very much. What a wonderful place Australia is as well. Right, look, I'm going to have to call time on this, everyone. Thank you very much for your time and being involved. Sorry, I've had to cut it short at the 35-minute mark, but my wife, I can actually see walking back from her, going to get her coffee. She's coming down the road and she's got 4 minutes before she has to start work in this very seat. So I'm going to have to scarper now. But thank you for joining me, or for listening as well, because I will put this out on the podcast form as usual. Sorry, it's a bit late, little bit later on than usual, but I hope you enjoyed the live format this time around. And I'll be back to do another one of these very, very soon. I'll be back in the morning, of course, doing my usual show as well. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy the England game later. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the boys can get the job done.